Hi again. I'm glad you're joining me for another devotional. I'm Marco Arroyo, the preacher with the Seagoville Church of Christ. And again, I'm happy that you're able to be here one more time, wherever you are, whatever's going on. I'm glad you're spending some time with God and with me in this way as I seek to spend time with God as well, thinking about His Word and how I could better live it in my own life. These devotionals are just as much for me as they are for anybody else. I love to do this. So I'm glad you love to do it too. At least you're doing it right now. We're going to be in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. It was just yesterday, Saturday. I'm recording this on the Sunday. Typically do Sunday or Monday. And it was just on Saturday I officiated a funeral for someone that was dear to me and to many in the church here at Seagoville, Dudley. And he lived a long life. He was in his 80s. And he was someone that a lot of people really appreciated, someone that a lot of people really loved. And I always enjoy when I'm at funeral services listening to what other people say about the person, the loved one that passed away. I love to hear the stories, things I didn't know. I love to hear about the things that I didn't know that were not just like their crazy upbringing or something like that. We heard a lot of funny stuff about Dudley's life in that funeral service, but I love to hear the things that they did that I didn't know about, the amazing ways that they blessed people. I love to hear stories about conversations that they had with people to encourage them during difficult times, whatever it might have been. I love that aspect of funeral services when the people leading the service or the people taking part in it, they talk about that person and share things about their lives and how much of a blessing they were to the people that were around them. When your life is over, when it's all said and done, all that will really matter is not how much money you made or something like that. To the people that you leave behind, pretty much all that will matter, that will stick with them, is how much of a blessing you were to them, and how much you did to enrich their lives in some way. And it's obvious that's part of what life is all about: loving God, loving God and keeping His commandments and loving Him. And then secondly, of course, to love your neighbor as yourself. I really did love that. And I was thinking about Dudley, and I was thinking about other Christians that I know that have gone on, and how much I always, during their funeral services, get to spend time to think about how much they built me up and blessed me. I also want to make sure, though, to think that way about the people in my life now. Do the people I surround myself with build me up? Who are they? And do they build me up? And again, everyone's going to have some kind of an impact on this that we have in any kind of a meaningful way in our lives. They will have an impact on this. What kind of an impact are the people that you are choosing to be in fellowship with? What kind of an impact are they having on you? Are they building you up? The Bible says here in 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse number 11, "Therefore comfort each other and edify one another, just as you also are doing." Edify means to build up. It's in Spanish, the word for building is based out of edify. In English, we would call it edifice. That's kind of how you have the word for building in Spanish. It's edificio, edifice. And so when you think about the people that are in your life, you've got to ask the question, are they building you up? Are they building you into what you are supposed to be? Are they making you better somehow? If you're not a Christian and you want to be the best that you can be for God, and the only way that you could be the best that you can be is if you were living for Him, you know that maybe that's a struggling point for you. And by the way, you wouldn't be the only one. A lot of Christians surround themselves with people who might, be friendly towards them and do nice things for them or whatever it might be. But a lot of Christians surround themselves with people who don't build them up. They don't help them to be holy. They don't help them to be faithful to God, to know Him better, to serve Him better. They don't do any of that. And that's a sad thought, really. God wants us to build others up, and in doing so, He wants us to be built up. Think about it this way. In the church, if my job is to build everybody else up, sometimes people think, well, who's going to build me up? If I'm building everybody else up, who's going to build me up? I understand where you might be coming from when you say that. But you might be thinking about it the wrong way. If you are, number one, you should get pleasure in building other people up, whether you receive it in return or not. But if you really do good work in building people up, guess what they will in turn do? They'll be built up to the point where they'll build others up, including you. You take care of others, they'll eventually take care of you when they start to step into their responsibilities and doing everything that God would have them to do. If they're not doing that already, you will get taken care of. And even if you weren't, it's a blessing to build other people up. It's a blessing to have an impact on people's lives. So really the message of the devotional today is twofold. What kind of an impact are you having on other people's lives and the people that are around you? The people that you're choosing to surround yourself with in fellowship, joint participation, the people you're choosing to learn from and to live like, what kind of an impact are they having on you? Are they the people that are going to be building you up, or are they kind of hurting your relationship with God? Are they making it harder for you to be holy and faithful? You know, when there are faithful Christians in your life, faithful Christians, they're not going to make it harder. They're not going to make things more difficult for you in your life. They're going to make you more holy. They're going to make you better at doing all that you must do for God. They're going to comfort you and build you up or edify you. And that's going to be the custom, just as we see here in 1 Thessalonians 5, verse number 11. I want to encourage you this week in your prayer life. If you don't have many people around you who are building you up, pray and ask God to open a door for you, to help you find an opportunity to surround yourself with people who will. I encourage you to find, if you're not in the Seagoville area, find a local Church of Christ around you. Those will be people that will build you up. Find Christians in your area, faithful Christians who, by nature, just by loving God, they will also love you as themselves, and they will build you up. I really encourage you to do that, but pray and ask God. Tell Him your desire for that you want to be someone who is faithful to Him each and every day. And so you want the help of people who are faithful so that you could do exactly that and ask Him in prayer. And also pray to Him and ask Him for the courage to be able to cut off those relationships that are not building you up. And maybe it's not a complete cutoff. You know, God doesn't want all His Christians to live in some kind of a compound on their own. But maybe it's, God, help me to distance myself and not get too close or be too mixed in the actions of people who don't serve you, because they're not helping me to be a good follower of your Son, Jesus. God, give me the courage to understand how far I should take each of my relationships, especially the ones with those who are not faithful to you and don't consider your will when they decide what they're going to do in life. I want to encourage you also, read the Wilderness Wanderings. You know, God gave them specific instructions to stay together and not to get mixed in with the nations around them. And it's not because the other nations, it's not for any other reason except for the fact that the other nations, if they got mixed in with them, were going to lead them astray. So God says, protect one another, stay together with one another, because you are going to, or you're meant to, edify one another, build one another up, help each other to serve me, to follow me faithfully, which is hard enough as it is. So you're here to help one another. Don't make it harder on yourself by getting mixed in. And they would not only get mixed in by seeing other nations, they would marry with them. They would commit sin with them. They would engage in idolatry with them. They fully got mixed in. Notice in the Wilderness Wanderings how often that happens, how serious of a problem it was, and the great and severe consequences that came of it, not just in the costly things that they did, sinfully speaking, but in the punishment that came with it. And thirdly, I encourage you to think about your life. Who's encouraging you? And when you think about those encouragers that you have, the ones that encourage you to please God and help you to do that, to be more holy, true, and wise in all of your life, when you think about them, I want to encourage you to say thank you to them. I want to encourage you this week, think about 2 people, just 2, who are an encouragement to you and who help you be more like Jesus Christ. Tell them that, hey, you help me be more like Jesus. I want you to know that I love and appreciate you. You're a blessing to me. That could go a long way for somebody. I want to encourage you, please do that for just 2 people, whoever it might be. You help me to be more like Jesus. I love you and I appreciate you. And have the courage this week to figure out which relationships that might be in your life that are hurting your relationship with God, and figure out with wisdom and the way God would have you to do it, how to taper those things off, how to kind of distance just enough, not completely maybe, because you want to help other people to know God as well, but enough to where your relationship with God is not being hindered anymore. I love you very much. May God bless you this week and always, and Lord willing, I'll see you next time. Take care. Goodbye.